Start with some basic video editing, the most simple editing there is, which is just stitching footage together. I filmed a little cinematic here to show you an example on how to get rid of unwanted footage and how your video should turn out after editing out parts where you say action or run back to turn the camera off. Don't forget that if you need to make the timeline more or less detailed for more precise editing, there's the plus and minus magnifying glass slider at the bottom right. For me, it's covered by the Windows 10 taskbar that won't go away, so I have to put WeVideo into a window and access it like that. Getting rid of footage is simple. Right click on the footage you want to cut on the timeline. Then line up the blue time marker right where you want to cut and remove the unwanted footage by dragging it over to the monitor where you preview your video. You can also get rid of footage and get rid of it by going to a 3-bar icon that will show up. That will then show you a trash can icon that will remove the footage by clicking on it. There's not much more to basic video editing than making sure you remove as much unwanted footage as possible and making sure all of your clips are together and they start at the beginning of the timeline. It's simple editing, but it can be the most fun and satisfying to do. In order to record any type of voiceover in WeVideo, it's your best interest to attach a mic to your computer. Make sure you have everything set up nicely and that you're in a quiet room. Next, you hit this little mic icon you see above all of the media here. Click on it, and a big red mic will appear over the timeline. Click on the red mic and record whatever you want. I'm going to go ahead and record something random just for example. Okay, so I went and collected some images that relate to what I talked about off of this website known as Googly. But before we get to that, I'm going to tell you about all the stuff you can do with the audio. By right-clicking on the clip you want to edit, you can make the audio fade in and out for as long as you want. And you can even make it louder if it's not as loud as you wanted it to be. This is great if you're trying to prove you heard a ghost, or you can make it quieter if you want to use music as background noise. Other than that, editing audio is pretty similar to editing footage. Just get rid of as much unwanted material as possible. If you're afraid of using music for copyright reasons, WeVideo has a library of copyright-free generic music you can use. Same with sound effects. The sound effects include stuff like traffic, rushing water. It's easiest to learn what's there just by browsing and having to listen for yourself. The next step is to add some visual stimulus. If you plan on adding multiple videos and pictures over top one another, you're going to need several video tracks on the timeline. Just go next to the plus icon above the timeline and choose if you need an audio or video track. From my experience, there is no limit. You shouldn't need a whole lot unless you're being really ambitious with your editing. But remember, the more layers you have, the more there is to keep up with. I'm going to need about 6 video tracks. Just like music, WeVideo has a small library of copyright-free, perfectly looping backgrounds, overlays, and even frames. You'll find them by clicking on the graphics icon above the mic icon. The next goal is to take all the pictures I mentioned earlier and put them over the background. Make sure the background is on the bottom video layer. Next, put the pictures you want over your background on the track directly above the background. You'll notice the picture reaches the frame from top to bottom. This is going to look a lot nicer if you make it smaller. It looks a lot more professional that way, especially if whoever is watching on a bigger display. In order to do that, you just double click on the clip or picture you want to edit and it should take you right to the place where you can scale your image up and down. There's also an option to rotate and flip anything you want, which can be helpful. To scale down what you want to make smaller, just slide this here scale bar to the left, then go to the monitor and drag your picture or clip to the position you want it to be in. Hello and welcome to another Escape Pod movie review. Today we'll be taking a look at The Nut Job 2, Nutty by Nature, starring Will Arnett, Catherine And Jackie Chan. What does Nutjob 2 have to offer? Is it as good as the first movie? Is it better? Well, strap yourself in. We're here to find out. Alright. Everyone just shut your little snowflake mouths. Today's lesson is on how to do green screens. Okay, so laugh all you want. It's a crappy green screen. I'm sure yours looks a lot better. However, I'm not here to show you an example on a good green screen. I'm here to show you an example on how they work. All you have to do is make sure you put the clip of you in front of the green screen on the video layer above the background you want. Then, double click on the clip with the green in it, and go to this icon at the top that looks like an empty YouTube or Facebook profile. Then you're going to have to double click on this eyedropper tool and drag it to the monitor to key out the color you want gone. To smoothen out your background, slide the left knob on this defringe bar all the way over to the right, and now your green screen should be looking good. Let's say you want to achieve a neat little teleportation effect. You want to beam yourself in and out of locations like in Star Trek. Well, this is pretty simple. All you have to do is repeat the color keying process we just went over on both sides of the teleportation, then right click on the clips to see the add transition options. You're going to want to add the transition you see best fit as a teleportation transition. For me, it's the cross dissolve. Then add that transition to the ending of the clip where you teleported out of, then at the beginning of the clip where you teleport in. Beam me up, Scott. Beam me up, please. The green screen doesn't always have to be behind you. Let's say you want to do something where it looks like you're wearing the invisibility cloak from Harry Potter. The most important thing is that you get a good shot of the background you want it to blend in with. Make sure it's the same exact angle and resolution as the footage that has you and the cloak in it. Put the footage of the background in the bottom layer and the footage of you in the layer directly above. Once all that is done, simply key out the cloak like it's a normal green screen, and that's how you get your invisibility cloak. Just remember it's important that the cloak is one solid color. The last thing I ever use color keying for is, let's say you find a picture or a logo you want to use that has a white background, but you just want to use the logo without the white background. Getting rid of that background is easy. Just color key out the white and you'll have your logo. The most common use for the animation feature in WeVideo is simply making something fly across the screen. You can do that by double clicking on the thing you want to send flying, then clicking on this 3-panel icon up here. After that, you click on this number 1 button and move it to the starting position you want to have. Then click on this number 2 icon and move it to the ending position you want to have. Allow me to show you an example of this with the Google logo. You can do the same thing with scaling. If you ever want to do something where the thing you're animating turns or changes direction, all you have to do is cut it so it's 2 different clips. Make your first animation to where you want it to turn, then remember the exact scale and coordinates of where the first animation ended, and make it so the second half begins exactly where the first half ended. WeVideo's animation options are pretty standard, but you can still use them to make random characters interact with one another, as long as you don't want them to move their limbs or anything. As you can see, I'm making a little animation of Pearl and Marina from Splatoon 2 here. So that about covers all of the really big stuff in WeVideo. Of course, I haven't mentioned stuff like color options where you can make an oversaturated shot look darker or whatever you need to do. Just mess around with the colors and have fun. And there's also the speed feature that you've seen I've been using a lot, where you can speed things up and slow things down if you need to make any slow motion shots for your epic action movie or whatever you need to do. The last thing I'm going to teach you is the rendering. Always remember what resolution you filmed your video in, because it's never necessary to render your video in any higher quality than what you filmed in. Rendering a video shot in 720p and 4K won't magically make it look any better. If you're not posting your video anywhere online and it's for a private presentation, then check out the resolution of the TV or projector you'll be viewing your video on. When in doubt, 1080p will do the trick. If not, you can always go back and render it again. That's it for today's lesson. Thanks for watching. I want to leave by saying that I know I skipped over some stuff. That's because the best way to learn in WeVideo isn't by watching other videos. It's by making videos. Experience will teach you more than I'll ever be able to.